You've been lied to about money your entire life. Not by one person, not by one company, by the entire system you were raised inside of. You were told the path was simple. Work hard, save your money, be responsible, and one day, you'd be okay. But here's what nobody told you. The very act of saving your money, the thing you were taught is safe, smart, and disciplined, is quietly making you poorer every single year. And the people who designed this system, they already knew that. Let's start with where most of us actually are. You have a job, maybe a decent one. You pay your rent. You cover your bills. You try, genuinely try, to put something aside every month. And yet, at the end of the year, you look at your bank account, and you feel like you're standing still, maybe even slipping backward. You're not imagining it. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average American worker earns around $59,000 a year. After taxes, rent, food, transportation, and basic expenses, most households are left with somewhere between $300 and $800 a month to save, if they're lucky. And that money? They put it in a savings account, because that's what responsible people do. But here's the problem nobody talks about at the dinner table. The average high-yield savings account in America offers around 4 to 5% interest right now. That sounds decent. It sounds like your money is growing. But inflation, the silent force eating your purchasing power, has been running between 3 and 8% over the past several years. Do the math. If inflation is 4% and your savings account pays 3%, you are losing money. Not losing it dramatically, not all at once, but slowly, quietly, steadily. Your savings are worth less this year than they were last year. The government has a term for this. They call it the real rate of return. It's the difference between what your money earns and what inflation takes. And for most American savers, that number is either zero or negative. You're running on a treadmill, working hard, saving carefully, doing everything right, and going nowhere. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus is 34 years old. He lives in Columbus, Ohio. He works as a project coordinator at a logistics company. He makes $62,000 a year, which is actually above the median income for his city. By most measures, Marcus is doing fine. He's not in serious debt. He doesn't live extravagantly. He drives a used Honda Civic. He meal preps on Sundays. He even reads personal finance articles on his lunch break. Every month, Marcus saves $600. He's been doing this for 4 years. He has $28,000 in a savings account at his local bank. He's proud of it. He worked hard for it. But Marcus can't shake a feeling. His rent went up $200 last year. His grocery bill is about $80 higher per month than it was 3 years ago. His health insurance premium increased again. And that $28,000 sitting in his savings account? Earning 2.1% interest at a traditional bank, while inflation ran at 4.7% last year. Marcus did everything right. He saved consistently. He lived below his means. He was patient. And yet, in terms of real purchasing power, what that money can actually buy, his savings are worth less today than when he started. One morning, Marcus reads that home prices in his area increased 31% over the past 4 years. He had been saving for a down payment. But the house he was targeting 4 years ago at $220,000, it's now listed at $289,000. His down payment savings grew by roughly $4,000 in interest. The house price grew by $69,000. Marcus saved for 4 years, and he fell further behind. This is not a story about failure. This is a story about a system that was never designed for Marcus to win. Here's the first hidden rule nobody teaches you. Money is not neutral. It is not just numbers sitting still. Money has a time value, and that value is being continuously extracted from you through inflation. Inflation is often described as rising prices, but that's not quite right. What inflation really is the slow, invisible erosion of what your money can do. In 1990, $100,000 in savings was enough to buy a house in most American cities outright. Today, that same $100,000 won't even cover a down payment in many markets. The dollars didn't disappear, but their power did. And here's what makes this rule so dangerous. It's invisible. When someone pickpockets your wallet, you know it happened. When inflation erodes your savings over 10 years, you barely notice each individual year. It's death by 1,000 cuts. A 3% inflation rate sounds harmless. But at 3% inflation sustained over 24 years, your money loses half its purchasing power. Half. And most Americans are earning less than 3% in savings. Interest over the long run. Think about what that really means. Your grandparents told you to save. Your parents told you to save. That advice worked better when inflation was low and savings account interest rates were high. In the 1980s, savings accounts in America offered 10, 12, even 17% interest. You could keep money in a bank and genuinely get ahead. But the world changed. Interest rates fell. Banks started paying almost nothing on deposits. And yet, the old advice, just save your money, stayed the same. The world changed. The rules changed. The advice didn't. But inflation is only half the story. There's a second hidden rule. And this one is even more disorienting. It's not just that your savings are losing value. It's that the things you're trying to buy with those savings are rising in value faster than almost anything else. We're talking about assets, homes, stocks, land, business equity. Over the past 30 years, asset prices in America have risen dramatically. The S&P 500, an index of the largest American companies, has returned roughly 10% per year on average over the past 3 decades. The median home price in the United States in 1994 was around $130,000. Today, it's over $400,000. That's a tripling in price. Meanwhile, the average American wage has grown, in real terms, adjusted for inflation, by less than 20% over the same period. Let that sink in. The things workers are paid to do have barely gotten more valuable, but the things workers are trying to own have tripled in price. This is the wedge. This is the gap. And here's what makes it so structurally cruel. The people who already owned assets, homes, stocks, rental properties, got rich almost automatically. They didn't work harder. They didn't make smarter decisions in 1994. They just already owned things. And the system rewarded ownership. Consider this. From 2020 to 2022, during and after the pandemic, American household wealth increased by over $27 trillion. But almost all of that gain went to the wealthiest 20% of households, the ones who owned significant assets. The bottom 50%, the people who mostly hold cash and savings accounts, their share of that wealth gain was nearly invisible. The system doesn't reward saving, it rewards owning. Now we have to talk about how the system actually works, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Think about 2 people. Call them David and Sarah. David earns $70,000 a year. He saves $700 a month. He puts it in a savings account. Faithfully. Every month. Sarah also earns $70,000 a year. She saves the same $700 a month. But she invests it in a simple index fund that tracks the S&P 500. After 30 years, David has saved $252,000, plus a modest amount of interest. After 30 years, Sarah's investments assuming the historical average return of around 10% annually, have grown to over $1.5 million. Same income, same savings rate, same discipline. 6 times the outcome. The difference isn't effort. It isn't intelligence. It's the vehicle. David used the vehicle the system told him was safe. Sarah used the vehicle that actually builds wealth. This is the quiet secret of compounding. Einstein allegedly called compound interest the 8th wonder of the world. Whether he said it or not, the math is real. When your money earns returns, and then those returns earn returns, and then those returns earn more returns, the growth is not linear, it's exponential. But compounding works against you too. When inflation compounds over decades, when debt carries interest that compounds, when your savings earn less than inflation year after year, the compounding works in reverse. The same mechanism that can make you wealthy is also quietly making you poorer, depending entirely on which side of the equation you're on. And most middle-class Americans, the hard-working, bill-paying, responsibly saving majority, are on the wrong side. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because some people hear all of this and think, okay, I just need to invest more. And that's true to a degree, but it misses a deeper and darker reality. Investing requires a safety net. When the stock market drops 30%, which it does periodically with historical regularity, the people who can hold on, who can stay invested, who don't panic and sell, are the people who have other financial cushions to rely on. The people who own assets are often the people who can afford to wait out volatility because they have savings, they have equity in their home, they have family wealth to fall back on. The people who are living paycheck to paycheck, when the market drops, they need that money. They sell at the bottom, they lock in the loss, and then they watch the market recover without them. This is why starting position matters. The financial advice that works for a 35-year-old with a paid-off car, some home equity, and a family safety net often doesn't work the same way for someone with $800 in savings and one unexpected expense away from credit card debt. And yet both groups get the same advice. Just invest. The system asks everyone to play by the same rules, but not everyone is standing on the same starting line. Think about Marcus again. If Marcus invests his $600 a month and his car suddenly needs a $2,200 repair, he either pulls from investments at a bad time or he goes into debt. A wealthier person with the same investment strategy has a buffer. Marcus doesn't. This isn't a story about personal failure. It's a story about structural disadvantage that gets dressed up as a personal finance problem. The solution gets individualized. The cause, a system that structurally advantages asset ownership, stays invisible. So where does this leave us? With a question worth sitting with. If saving money doesn't preserve your wealth, and investing requires a safety net many people don't have, and asset prices keep rising faster than wages, then what exactly is the game being played here? The answer, as uncomfortable as it is, seems to be this. The game is tilted toward people who already have capital. And it has been for a long time. That's not a conspiracy. It's not anyone's individual fault. It's the compounding logic of a system where capital earns more than labor. Where owning things generates more return than doing things. Where time in the market beats time at work. The people who understood this really understood it. Not just heard it in a YouTube video. Built generational wealth. They bought homes when homes were still affordable. They invested when index funds were a new idea. They held assets across generations and watched compounding do its quiet, relentless work. And they passed those assets and that knowledge to their children. Meanwhile, an entire generation was handed a different lesson. Work hard. Be responsible. Save your money. All of those things have value, but they are not enough. Not in a system where your savings account pays 2% and your neighbor's rental property appreciates at 8%. Not in a system where the people who own things get richer, while the people who earn things tread water. Marcus isn't losing because he's lazy. He's losing because he's playing by rules designed for a different era. The rules changed, the advice didn't. And until more people understand the actual mechanics of money, not the simplified version, not the motivational version, the gap will keep growing. The system doesn't care how hard you work. It doesn't care how disciplined you are. It doesn't reward effort. It rewards position. And the first step to changing your position is understanding the game you're actually in.